Early on, I learned to nod and smile at reason and logic while secretly letting the heart run the whole show under the cover of night. So it was only a matter of time, decades later, that I was going to try and write a big little book of the heart. And writing alive things Mum said to me before she died, aka Darby Love, was my attempt to stuff a big heart into a little book. It began as a little self-published thing on Amazon, and now it's become a fully fledged second edition through US publisher Andrews McMeel. It hasn't lost Mum's sideways small charm, just has the same heartbeat across more pages, a longer runway to sigh. And maybe I'm post-rationalising now that I've had months to think about writing it, talking to Mum through the clouds, remembering our old conversations, but the following thoughts were my North Stars for the book when I was putting it together. When I was writing it, I wanted it to feel novelistic, but in a tiny volume that you could read quickly. Every piece had to work hard, or if it wasn't working hard, they had to at least build Mum's world so the other pieces could float and breathe inside it. Mum said and showed me a lot of stuff about the sea, trees, stars, moonlight, magic, reading and staying up all night. She smoked cigarettes, drank a lot of instant coffee and wandered around like a professional bird lady. Sometimes I'd join her for a walk and she'd give me a commentary of the outside world beyond the walls of her little flat. She lived in her own mess, her own time zone, and marched to the beat of her ancient heartbeat. So I wanted to pack all this in without being repetitive. There's more stuff I could have mined, but that was the essential part of it. And while I was writing it, I also had Catcher in the Rye and The Little Prince in the back of my head. They felt like distant cousins to what Darby Love could be. Small books that held big, hard ideas. And the response to the first edition still floors me. Dozens of readers have said they've read Darby Love dozens of times. It's a tiny book that ate a novel. And this way of writing goes back to when I was 14, 1989. I'd read the newspaper before Mum got out of bed, and I'd cover a pull quote from a giant article just with my hand. So I'd read the article and then I'd decide which part of the article held the guts, the biggest truth of all this waffle. Then I'd take my hand off and see if I'd guessed the pull quote for the article. I was just doing it for fun, but over time I got better at it. I got better at guessing it. And I didn't realise it then, but I realise now I was teaching myself to say something big in as few words as possible. And I wouldn't write or consider myself a writer for at least another 30 years. Decades later, in my early 40s, I read 20 classic novels straight. I wanted to see what made them last without any university syllabus telling me what was right or wrong or what was inappropriate. And I highlighted about 10 passages from 300 pages from each of these classic books. Passages that brought the heart alive. Most of it just seemed like padding. But these bits that I'd highlighted were the timeless bits, the old heart stripped of trend and fashion. And that's what I leaned on when writing Darby Love. I skipped modern terms where I could. And there are so many books that borrow their heart from the findings of modern psychology and therapy, when really the heart is ancient and it hasn't had any updates. My favourite writing is where the author has survived themselves long enough and finally the words have written themselves. And the heart can smell that truth. Mum was curious about progress and new ideas, but she also knew how quickly they'd be debunked or distorted. But through all the noise, the heart still sings clear. And that's what I wanted to put into this book. My recommendation, read it in the middle of the night when Mum loved to read books.